Hi, Brentwood Bulldogs. This is Miss Dimkowski, and this week I really want to share something that I think a lot about as I spend a lot of time outside and I've traveled to, and so have you maybe, to different national parks like the Grand Canyon. I went to Socorro National Park in Tucson just over December. I've traveled to lots of different places in Oregon where you have big pine trees and mountains and just a lot of natural places. Go camping a lot. I really like camping. If you didn't know that, now you do. I love camping. So, what I want to read about and talk about today, I know we had Earth Day, but we really need to think of it as every day, not just that one day. And I know we do a lot of great things that day, and we make the whole world very aware of why we have to protect all the natural things, the animals, the creatures, the places, and keep it clean. So I'm gonna read a book in a minute. One of my favorite authors. I met him actually one time, and he writes about a lot of natural places. But then I saw the other night Jane Goodall. She's someone, a scientist, so these are names you can look up. She had a quote, and it's like, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." So really, what you do, think about that, makes a difference, and it's up to you to decide what type of difference you're going to make. So I'm going to tie that into just sharing about a place called, and you may have been there, the Redwoods, and these are in California. So this is a little brochure if you were to go to that national park. Every time you go to a national park, they give you this big brochure so you can learn about. So you can see the redwood tree, see all the things that live there. Of course, there's always history. This shows the history in the 1800s. It starts talking about the redwoods, mainly again and along the coast. And I really always think about the things that we need to protect, mainly the animals and again the plant life that grows there. So I'm going to read a book by Jason Chin, and he's an author I had met. Um, and he wrote another one. I'm not going to read this one today. This one's called The Story of the Galapagos Islands. So you can see already that the animals on there that live there. He also wrote one. I don't have that with me. I think I still have it at school, but he wrote about the Grand Canyon. And this one's about the redwoods. So we're going to take a little journey with this little boy and see how he discovers all the things about the redwoods. And so let's jump in and see. So here we go. Interesting though where we're starting. You notice? You see it's a subway and we see dinosaurs. So before I read, why do you think maybe where this little boy lives? And why would it show a picture of a dinosaur before we go to the redwoods? I mentioned a date earlier. So see if you're thinking, remember thinking while we're reading, and make some connections, make some inferences. So that means, what do you think from what I'm reading and what you already know? So what do you already know about dinosaurs? Why are they showing that? Okay. The coast redwoods are among the oldest trees in the world. Their ancestors lived about 165 million years ago during the Jurassic period. So there's our answer there. They're so old that's why they're showing it. I don't know if I'm going to show real close. If you see the little boy, he's holding the book I'm reading. So you can barely see the cover. He's reading while we're reading. Interesting. Let's see. He has his book open. One tree can live for more than 2,000 years, which means there are trees alive today that first sprouted during the Roman Empire. So you might have been asking, why is he sitting next to these Roman Empire men on the subway? Now check this out. He's leaving the subway. What do you notice? Why are there roots? Where do you think he's going? I'll pause for a minute. Where do you think? Think he's just going to pop out in the city? It could be in New York. I always think of a subway in New York. Redwoods have shallow root systems that travel more than 100 feet from the tree. They help the tree stand, and they need all the help they can get because, so why do they need such big roots? They are the tallest living things on the planet. Redwoods regularly grow to be more than 200 feet tall. So look where he came out of the subway, right into the Redwood Forest, and look at his mouth. Oh my goodness. We don't even see the top of the tree. We just see it. So now you see his book. It says Redwoods, just like the book I'm reading. A redwood trunk can be 29 feet in diameter and its base. That's so wide that the tunnel can be cut big enough for a car to drive through. So they did have a tree like that in the redwoods. I want you to look up. I think something happened. It might still be there. Amazingly, such a tall tree starts from a seed about the size of a tomato seed. A 1-inch long cone that houses the seed falls to the ground, and if the conditions are right, the tree will sprout. With enough light and water, a redwood sapling can grow fast, up to 2 feet a year. So he's holding the seed, and that's the redwood sapling. 2 feet a year. Could you imagine if you grew 2 feet every year? I wouldn't be able to fit in this room. Redwoods also grow from other redwoods. When a tree falls or is cut down, new trees can sprout from big round masses along its trunk, called burls. Often several trees grow from the burls on one stump. If you see a ring of redwoods in the forest, they probably all sprouted from the same stump. So if you see a trees kind of grow in a ring, a stump was in the ground, and that's why they're growing like that. One reason that redwoods are able to live for so long and grow to be so tall is that they're very good at defending themselves. Their wood contains a lot of tannin, a chemical that protects them from fungal infections and insect infestations. Redwoods are also well suited to live through fire. So unfortunately, sometimes we have forest fires. Fires can be good and bad in a forest. Sometimes there's a lot of things that need to be burned away, and they do say, scientists, that all of that burnt soil and ground helps rejuvenate. So look at his face. What do you think he sees coming? We just heard. And he has a little friend with him now. I think it's a flying squirrel. Have you ever seen a flying squirrel? They're pretty cool. Oh no. If there is a fire, their extremely thick bark shields them from the heat, just like the heat-resistant tiles on a space shuttle. Their branches don't start until very high up, 200 feet in some cases, which also helps protect them from fire, since most fires can reach their needle. They can't reach their needles. Even if a fire penetrates a redwood's bark, the tree can still live. In some cases, a huge portion of the center of the trunk has been burned out, but the tree keeps growing. In many ways, fires actually help redwoods by clearing out other plants that would otherwise compete for resources like water and soil. So like I said, it burns out some plants that aren't needed in the forest, and that way the tree can grow. Coast redwoods need a lot of water to grow, as tall as they do, and in the area of Northern California where they live is perfect. It's a rainforest. The air is cool and damp, and the land is covered with thick fog. It takes a long time for water to travel all the way from the roots to the top of the redwood, and the fog helps the trees by preventing them from losing moisture to evaporation. In addition, the needles of a redwood can absorb moisture from the air. In the summer, when there's much less rainfall, redwoods have ingenious ways of collecting water. They make their own rain. When the fog rolls in, it condenses on the redwood's needles, and whatever moisture isn't absorbed then falls to the ground to be soaked up by the tree's roots. Other plants that live at the base of the tree use this artificial rain as well. Not only do the redwoods water themselves, they water plants around them. So you notice some flowers growing in the summer. and probably the animals get some water. The branches of a redwood are called the crown or canopy and start very high up the trunk. To study redwood crowns, scientists have to climb into them. This is not easy. Because the trees are so tall, researchers use a bow and arrow to launch a rope over the branches. When the rope is secure, they can pull themselves up. It's very dangerous work. When the needles fall off a redwood, they decay and turn to soil. And redwoods are so big that this soil often collects in the trees themselves. So the soil in the branches of a tree or in the crevices provide home for other plants. Plants that grow in redwoods are called epiphytes. The most common epiphyte in the tree is a fern. In one tree, researchers found a mass of ferns weighing more than 1,600 pounds. That's heavier than a full-grown polar bear. So there's little plants growing all through the tree. Hope he's climbing to the top. Ferns are not only the plants that make their homes in redwoods. Mosses, fungi, bushes, and even trees grow in a redwood. Researchers have found a wide variety of trees high above the ground, including hemlock, spruce, firs, oaks, and California bays. In one redwood, researchers found a California bay tree growing out of a knothole over 300 feet from the ground. In addition to plant life, scientists have found many animals living in the redwood canopy: flying squirrels, beetles, earthworms, centipedes, spiders, salamanders, and yellow banana slugs. Those are pretty cool. I've seen those. Some animals, like red tree voles, live their whole life in the treetops and never see the ground. They have the whole world up there. So look at all those creatures we need to protect. Remember, make sure you think of what kind of difference we can make. It's not just a tree. It's a home to many different creatures. Many birds live in the top of the redwoods, including bald eagles and woodpeckers. Marbled murrelet and northern spotted owls live in the oldest trees in the redwoods. When a redwood is injured, the tree will often sprout new trunks that look like miniature versions of a tree. If a branch is damaged, a new trunk will grow straight up from the top of the damaged trunk. Sometimes more than one new trunk will sprout. Researchers found one tree with more than 200 reiterated trunks. Wow, that's pretty cool. The crown of the redwood can be very complex. As the tree grows, its main branches of the new branch crisscross and run into each other, forming a maze of growth. The crown can become so dense that it forms its interior and you can't see the ground or the sky. So he's way up there. It looks like a whole forest up in the tree. The largest of the redwoods are in a class of their own called the Titans. So see how this one way up there. For a long time, the record holder for the tallest tree, the stratosphere giant, 370 feet. But that record was broken in the summer of 2006 when researchers discovered Hyperion, a giant coast redwood rising 379 feet from the ground, and it's still growing. There's the flying squirrel. He's going to fly up there. That's 6 stories taller than the Statue of Liberty. So they're showing you how much taller these trees are. And then they put it in a city. And they tried to show you it's taller than a skyscraper, just so you have an idea of how really tall they are. It's so tall that if it was introduced to the skyline, it would fit right in. So now he's back sitting in the park, probably in Central Park. And look that, he sat on a bench. He left his book. Oop, he ran away and left his book. And now look who found it. What do you think that little girl's going to do? Is she going to leave the book or is she going to read it? Look where she went. She did like he did. So making a difference to him maybe is sharing this important information. So you could also be someone that shares important things about the forest. The back of this book, Jason Chin shares that, the redwoods are in danger because of the climate, human activity. Unfortunately, we cut trees down, and much of the environment is from pollution, and then the animals disappear, and then everything starts disappearing. So it's really important to take care of the redwoods and all those natural places that you go to. So I know I keep introducing my heart maps. I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I read that whole book, but I made one and I wrote Earth Day is every day. So maybe inside your heart,